afternoon, it could be night, or it could be Friday morning. Thank you for coming through. I said I would come on live, so let me see if I can get this thing going up. If this thing wants to cooperate. Sometimes it don't want to cooperate. That's the word we got to use is corporation. So we're gonna talk about it. Anyway, we're gonna talk about it. So obviously the big news. Well, do I talk about the basketball? Do I talk about Brian Wilson? That's the big one. So we're gonna talk about it. I think I'll go with the. We're gonna go with what we go with. We're gonna see what we work with. They got me on today. Good. Good. I like that. Finally got me where it's supposed to be. I think I'll talk about Brian Wilson. Because we're gonna get into that. I think I'll talk about Brian Wilson. And y'all can ask me who if you don't know who he is, we'll get nice and live today. So we got the world there. So we are her today. We're her. We are here today, and I'm just gonna put everything up there so I can get hope everybody's doing good. Hope we're doing good today. We're just gonna talk. Who Brian Wilson is, you can ask me, but the Beach Boys, and that's the story. I decided I was going to talk about the NBA Fund. We talk about it if you want to, but he was one of the most important singer songwriters, musicians. It's kind of fun and sad too, because with Sly Stone, it's kind of like wow, both the same age, Bay Area, two greats. So we're gonna talk. Gonna be about it, talk about it. See if we can get everything going to. See if I can get this thing lined up properly. Okay, we are live, so we're gonna be here. Get this thing in a spin in a circle. Be here for a minute. we're gonna see what we got today. Um, had to send out notifications. A lot's going on, so we're gonna see what we're working with. So yeah, the Beach Boys. Interesting story. So people always be like, "Oh yeah, no." What happened was I back in the day because I used to collect cassettes, and there are people who still listen to cassettes. But back when I used to actually do it, I had actually a stack in a kitchen that I had, and I had the Beach Boys 20 greatest hits, and uh, what was the show? I can't even think of the show. It was on HBO, but God Only Knows was one of my favorites. I love that intro. That was used so many often than not. The vocals, the harmony. That's the thing about the Beach Boys. I really was into the harmony of it. And he was the music mind behind it. I'd always listened to the Beach Boys. I remember I didn't like that Kokomo song though. That got on my gave me a headache back in '88. So I remember when I had a part time job and I had to wash some dishes and some turkey came in singing sung that mess, and them dishes just stayed stacking. So I never did like thought the song was corny, and I thought that dude was even cornier. I think it was from the Cocktail one with Tom Cruise. It came out back in the '80s. But anyway, let me get to the story. Like they songs, like the vibe. They were one of the few bands that came out in the '60s that were from the white pop rock scene that didn't sound like Beatles knockoffs. They didn't have that vibe. They had that California, that laid back thing. Actually, that they had to pay Chuck Berry for Surfing USA. They got their own groove and they worked out their strengths. So I got into what they was. I like their vibe. And so I remember Musician magazine because I used to read Musician magazine. This was in the early '80s, not early. This was in the early '90s. Let me take that back because Michael Jackson's Dangerous album came out, and the cat that wrote the review was comparing Michael Jackson as a child prodigy with the Jacksons to Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys, and so it was an interesting correlation. Now Wilson was a more dynamic writer overall, though Jackson was a very good songwriter. But I got the gist of it and was just reading it. But anyway, the point of the matter is I could see a correlation about someone that was really a dynamic musical force within a family unit and then how they just, So I got where it was going with that. There was not a compare and contrast per se, even though the careers were a outburst that was incredible. But anyway, um, this was a very, interesting thing. And listening to their music, because there ain't nothing just casual about it. I really like the harmonies and the arrangements, and they didn't sound. It wasn't the team bop, couple note type of thing. They really had a distinctive flair about them. That's why when they did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the '80s, they were one of the earliest inductions. The Sly Family Stone had to wait till '93, but still was early though. Wasn't like the mess that they do now where they make people wait like some insane amount, and they usually acknowledge the ones that are at the forefront of the greatness. Hello, how you doing? So I just always think that that's important that you do that, that you acknowledge the ones that paved the way. Thank you for coming through. Tell me about yourself and welcome aboard. And feel free to hit that poll. I'm sure there are going to be people who are familiar with the Beach Boys and have a lot to say about their musicality and their impact. Um, some people get all caught off guard like you don't know who these people are, and I was like, well, music is music. Music is music. Now it takes people to separate it, but what moves you, what you grew to, and he very, Brian Wilson, a very haunting guy. It's ironic too, because actually, in Strange Orbit in Universe, it was very parallel to Sly Stone in a very strange orbit. Um, it's very distinctive how that whole plays, and music does those things though. more so than any other form of art and creation. I don't think I could get any kind of other reaction like music can give you a reaction. Because music has that uniqueness about it. So, you know, but that's why we always keep going back to it and we always look for it. And, it's our redeemer. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Tell me where you're coming from today. And feel free to converse. Do I think that Brian Wilson will get the same kind of situation? Yeah, man, he was huge. I mean, you say the Beach Boys, you're talking about an era of music. Pet Sounds, one of the greatest records ever. Uh, the harmonies, you know, yeah. I mean, that was a pretty distinctive time period. So yeah, you know, when you think about it, there's other eras and things that you can like, but and his artistry. But then when I think about the '60s, it's like wow, Brian Wilson was popping, when Sly Stone was popping, when James Brown was popping, when Jimi Hendrix was popping, when Miles Davis. What's up? Let's talk. Let's talk. And Motown with Holland Doja, so many greats. I have the Brian Wilson thing up here, Will. I was either contemplating that or talking about Game Three. We got plenty of time to talk about Indiana, Oklahoma. I think that's gonna go 6-7. I think it's gonna go 7. And I already pretty much done said, it's a compelling series. I did my video earlier about it, which is out. Jay Z lost $1 million. What's happening? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming through. No, it was Brandon Munchkin, the one from Canada. He was the one that was balling. Miles Turner did good, but it was oh boy off the bench. He balled. That's what makes the Pacers so dangerous. If they can do that, they got a chance to win the ring. Because you can't really that that's what makes them a unique situation. They can go 8-9 deep on you, and you didn't see that one coming. You didn't see that guy coming. So they one of the things that they did is that they just they came back. They and Chad Hogan got off to a great start, but then he cooled way off. So it's gonna be a tough series. It's gonna be a tough series. It's a tough one for OKC because it's a little bit different team. One thing about when you beat the likes of Denver or you beat Minnesota or you beat Memphis, if you knock down the 1-2 man, the team kind of falls off. This Pacer team, man, they got guys that they're ready to go 7, 8, 9, 10 deep. This is one of the most team oriented situations I've seen. I bet you Reggie Miller wants to go put a jersey on the worst way. So, but anyway, very very impressive. This is a 7 game series all the way. If because I like I said, OKC got their work cut out because they don't have no other option. and Chad is not where he need to be. He's probably about a couple years off. He's good, but he ain't great. And he can get. He had a double double. He started off the game, but the problem they had four guys score 20. But the problem is that Indiana goes 8-9 deep. You think you got a bench? Yeah. Yeah, time is on a point about that. I have not seen a team that I can recall in recent memory where they can beat you so many ways and they can go deep. And the thing about it is the dude last night, no one saw that. Just like in the Knicks series game. That's how they are the most dangerous. That's why I keep saying the word dangerous. I don't use that word a lot. It's the most dangerous team I've seen because it's like where do they get these cats from that they find ways to score, they find ways to beat you. Rick Carlisle looking like a G for real. Yeah, SGA. Well, now you're gonna say nothing about that. Yep. Anybody gonna leave Philadelphia? Go get a ring somewhere. Yeah, man. I'm Rick Carlisle, man. I'm tell you. You asked me the question. He wins his finals. This is more impressive than beating the Heat. Most definitely, because Shea is every bit an MVP. 68 win team. Are you kidding me? Clearly was the best team in the West, maybe the NBA. Oh yeah, this carries more weight for me than Miami did because he had Dirk. Now it was impressive because he had a lot of cast offs, but he still had Dirk. There's no Dirk on this Indiana team. You don't look at nobody and say, "Oh, that's the behind Dirk or in front of Dirk." So what they pulling off here is heck of impressive. No, I've been known about Miles Turner, and sometimes the headband made me think he looked like AD's cousin. I'm familiar with Halliburton because he was around last year. He balled. I remember. It's not close to me. It's not close. It was tougher, but when I think about a 68 win team at the end, and there are no superstars on the Pacers team, and how people have been downplaying Halliburton, Pete Sockholm had been almost a forgotten man, and I remember him in Toronto. I remember how pivotal he was playing against Draymond and what he did with playing with Kawhi. But this was cast offs, yo, cast offs. Yeah, but even PJ Sockholm, you ain't gonna remember Pascal. Pascal, you ain't gonna remember Pascal unless you remember what he did with Toronto. But that's a long time ago. And Miles Turner too. So I mean, like they didn't really, but they played good last year. Last year, I think Rick Carlisle's bad coaching cost him against the Celtics. But he ain't made up for it this year. He ain't doing nothing stupid like he did last year. Because I was questioning him as a coach after that Eastern Conference final. He blew like two games, maybe three, and he ain't doing the dumb stuff this year. Because they should have beat Boston in two of them games last year. Should have been a six-game Eastern Conference Finals. Playing a lot better this year. So whatever he done done, he made adjustments. Let me break these down. The Portland always never was that deep in the playoffs, so that's a fact. Kobe was old. Powell was old. Trade bait. So that Laker team wasn't that good, and they smashed them pretty easily. If you remember, that's what got Phil. They look old. Impressive on name, but not for what they had. Katie was a puppy. Russ was a puppy. That was impressive. They beat them, but OKC was not on their level. Obviously, you saw they didn't go, but I think they went to one or two more Western Conference Finals. They underachieved there, and it didn't work. And they were undercoached. Serge Ibaka played good, okay. LeBron was horrible in that run. Wade was the best player for the Heat. They goofed up game two, and they goofed up. Should have beat them. And Wade was trying to rib and Bosch. So that was in name. No, well, they had some of the guys, but last year he made some bad calls. He made some blunders, which cost him against them. Well, Mark Jackson ain't gonna never get called back because he too righteous, and Sam Cassell must got something they don't like about him. They want Udoka. Jason Kidd was a strong candidate. They want someone they can relate to. I didn't think they were that good that year. I wasn't surprised Dallas beat them the first round. The Rockets said 57 games wins, but I thought they looked old. I didn't think that they looked like a championship team that year. I didn't. And that was the start of Kobe's decline because after they got swept that first round, that was it. Second round, they didn't look good. Okay, second. Remember, they got swept. The only thing I know, they got swept, and they didn't look good against Dallas. Dirk had his way with them. So, and they looked, and that was the start of the decline. That's when Jerry Buss went in and said, "Phil, you got to go. We got to get more speed." So, wasn't impressed with that Lakers or that Blazers team. The OKC Heat thing, I'll give you to an extent. To an extent. To an extent. And then when I look at Indiana, okay, you beat Giannis, who's one of the greatest. That's got to count. Cleveland had the best record in the East. Donovan Mitchell was a first team starter. You beat the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Cat, who beat the world champions, and six came from behind. Think about it. I'm not talking Hall of Fame. I'm just saying that what Indiana just has done is very impressive. Very impressive. Because Portland didn't have nobody like Giannis. So, and we get on to Donovan Mitchell, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Brunson might have a chance. I'm going with this situation here. I don't see it as close. I'm sorry. I see the Pacers run right now. Rick Carlisle's situation is because first of all, that Miami Heat team didn't win no 68 games, and they didn't have the MVP. And then when you do about point differential, no, how you got Bobby Portis is like Eli Manning. The basketball version of Eli Manning is like somebody that's considered middle, second, third tierish, and then he blows up in the postseason. I don't know about Bobby Portis being that dude. I don't know about that. I got to come back to you on that. Who would I consider like the Eli Manning? Hmm. Who would I say that about? I might have said it about Sam Cassell or somebody like that. No, hell ain't gonna be able to Reggie win. He'd have to be a league MVP and win another ring before I say something like that. Yeah. I think so this is the thing. The Shaq argument makes more sense because of the fact that they wanted to give Philadelphia everything where they are, but Shaq was clearly the better player. And he already won a ring. And he been to two finals. Yeah, Jamal Murray would make more sense like Eli, because he's always trade bait and frustrating during the season, hit and miss it. He gets another gear in the postseason. LeBron could have won it, but Derrick Rose, I ain't got a problem with that because D Rose led the Bulls and they did get to the Eastern Conference Final. I will get they were a deep team. He was playing at his peak and prime. We can debate should he have won it or not, but he hadn't won anything as far as a chip. So Shaq's case was a different argument there, and he was the best player on the best team at the time. So these things are all kind of But anyway, that's my thoughts and takes on that though. already a top 10 coach. He's gone to multiple finals, and he didn't, doing it in the East and the West, which was heck of impressive. He to win with an all-time great player, then to win with the guys that are just good in this day and time. Oh yeah, you move close to top five. You definitely do because then you're beating Eric Spoelstra almost because you didn't win with the top, and then you came back with less than top. So this is hecka impressive. He'll be on it. He'll be close. He'll be close. I can't. I mean, obviously, with Phil and Red Auerbach and Pat Riley and Popovich, that's four off the top. So, and you can debate who you got for you. Steve Kerr, you got a case there. Somebody say Eric Spoelstra. But what I got him, Steve Kerr. Hello? Does those four rings count for anything? 4-2 in the finals. Does Steve Kerr not ring a bell? All those wins, because when it's all said and done, Kerr's stats, Kerr is one ring behind Pop, one behind Phil. I mean, one behind Pat and Pop. Yeah, you see, that's kind of tough because he leaves me kind of like that too. Yeah, I'm the same way on that. We co-sign all the way on that. I'm kind of like I wish I could think of somebody else because he got a bunch of rings. You can't argue about the Splash Brothers changing the league. You can't argue about Steph Curry changing the league. You can't argue about this and that. He got gold medal. He done this. He done that. It's just that I wish I could think of somebody else to put in that spot. I want to put Billy Cunningham in the worst way, but he didn't dominate like Steve Kerr did. I want to put Larry Brown in there, but I can't. It's like wow. That's the thing, because people forget how successful he's been, ridiculously successful, and that's what those guys got in common. All them guys got at least four rings, so that's like a standard of top five. If that's your standard of greatest coaches ever, so it's just you know, excuse me, it's just one of those things. He's Yeah, that's what I say. You're saying the same sentiments because he stole Mark Jackson's rings. That's what a lot of us want to say. And you want to say Rudy Tomjanovich, but you can't quite say Rudy. And you're trying to think of somebody. Chuck Daly. You can make a case for Chuck Daly. Pistons had a good run, but Steve Kerr's situation is just so oof. It's tough. It really is tough. And no one's gonna give Casey Jones that dude because it burdened him and all that. So I mean, it's tough. Yeah, he had a good run. He had a great run. It's just that I can't do it. But that's why Rick Carlisle looks so much better. Because for a cat with two rings, his situation is so unique that you just be Kermit Washington. He played for the Portland Trailblazers. Hit him with a cold one back in '77, and that was a punch. That was pre David Stern. And he still got to play. Man, David Stern, he never would have seen the light of day. That's when you used to could do stuff like that. Because I still remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar put that punch on Kurt Benson. And he was a good player, too. Very good player. That's how it used to be. It depends on when you start watching the NBA. Cash used to get clotheslined and knocked out like it wasn't nothing until about till Jordan with the rules against they changed everything. But that was the norm. I remember when Allen Iverson talking about he didn't think basketball was physical. I say Your behind wouldn't have made it in them back in that day. Them cats used to clothesline you. I still remember that '84 finals because when Trevor McHale clothesline Kurt Rambis like he was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, that changed the landscape of that finals too. That changed the landscape because Bird sent a message. He said, y'all need to stop playing like y'all soft. He pretty much said that in that press conference. So it should be up there on the file from '84. And sure enough, when he clotheslined him, and then Rambis' glasses all fogged up, that was it. You know, when you got Kurt Rambis hanging on the rim and talking about you can't stop me, and you know he start dancing and gyrating. You know, it's like wait a minute. So that's when you could send a message back then. You can't do that today. And no one ever called Kevin McHale a bad player or dirty or nothing like that. Today, Kevin McHale would probably be gone for about 20 games for that. That was a great A clothesline too. So again, it puts everything in perspective where you were, what you were doing. Different NBA though. Whole different ball game. Whole different mindset. No, you can't have that. Different era. Whole different era. Well, because what people fail to realize, yeah, the Rockets swept them, but their stats weren't that dissimilar. It wasn't like a lot. It wasn't like Olajuwon scored plus 7, 8, 10 more points than Shaq in the finals. Look it up. You know, and when Shaq got seasoned, he caught up with him. He got him the next year, and he went on. So it wasn't like he back like he carried him in his prime. Wilt was a problem because could he not only score, but he had the finger roll. He was athletic. He could move. He would be a problem. He would defend you. You had to work so much against a guy like that who did have more moves. So I'm saying Wilt, because then it'd be battle of dominance. And no one ever looks at Akeem Olajuwon as a dominant player. Great talent. I think in his case, he was great. I'd say one of the 15 to 16, 17 greatest players ever. But his athleticism is what gets him more notoriety than anything. Because that's all many people talk about. He had a great turnaround and the dream shake and the spin moves and everything. But it's more his athleticism that's the one that gets front line and center. And I think what would have been more of a problem. Yeah. He ain't gonna match what Will Chamberlain did from his peak and prime. You ask me a question, I'm giving you the best answer. I'm not giving you the answer that everybody wants to just say is cool. He wasn't dominant. He didn't dominate the Knicks in the finals. Shoot, John Starks missed like 83 points. But he ain't trust Patrick Ewing enough. It went 7 games. So it wasn't like he flat out dominated. I seen both these guys, the guys at their peak in their prime. And when Shaq was at his peak in his prime, you'd have had to have a Will Chamberlain or you'd have had to wave a white flag. And I'm not stuttering. So miss me with all that other stuff. Because ain't nobody, maybe a Bill Russell who could have kind of figured out how to strategically maneuver you. I give you that. Russell would have been a science. but nobody was gonna sit there and manhandle Shaq. And it ain't but like maybe a couple people that's seeing that at its peak in its prime and got a chance. That's the one thing when people are entitled to their opinions and they say stuff. It's another thing when you ask somebody who actually saw some stuff, and then you ask a question about when you're looking at it in totality. And remember, Wilt was like the best of both them worlds: footwork, athleticism, strength, dominance. 94. But he hit his real peak in prime though in '95. That's when Shaquem was at his powers. And that's not to knock Hakeem, but Wilt was on another level though. Nope, nope. I don't like him with nobody. I like him in an old folks home where he go retire. I don't know if people keep going on about oh he gonna do something. The guy is almost 37. If this was about 5 or 6 years ago, I'd be bananas about it. Not excited at this stage. They need too much body work to make that thing work. They need Bam and Tyler Hero and him. Who's gonna play defense? Who's gonna have the ball rotate? And then how you gonna mix and match? I mean, you get him now. That's like a 4 or 5 years too late, as far as I'm concerned. KD with Miami is like Aaron Rodgers with Pittsburgh. People who like to romanticize stuff like that will go, oh, but come on now. That's about 4 or 5 years past the pull date. I ain't excited about that mess. I look at it like what it coulda, shoulda happened back when it shoulda happened, not now. They won't come out the East though. See, he's at a stage now. He's got to be a hired hand to get rings or play for rings, because anything else is just stat padding. So let me say it like this: he's a way better player than Jimmy Butler will ever dream of being. But in terms of fitting the aesthetic, you got to have an alpha to coincide with him, and you got to have the right piece at the right time. They need another piece to make that thing pop. That ain't it. That thing with him and that thing with him and in San Antonio is interesting because him and Victor Wembia, that'd be interesting. Only if De'Aaron Fox actually comes back and plays ball and don't be a scrub. So that'll be interesting with that. But coming to Miami with for what? Maybe if he wants to go to the beach, come to South Beach. Not in this lifetime. Not in this lifetime. You tripping? Nobody wants to know him Embiid. And Embiid then fell off so bad you could probably get Ben Simmons for him in a free beach towel in L.A. Come on now. Nobody wants Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid would be dangerous though if he could get with the team and come off the bench though. I'm gonna talk about it. I think he got racially profiled. I'll talk about it. I meant to do that one. I'm gonna do that one. I'm not surprised though. He's one of those guys they go after. I'm not shocked or surprised. I'm gonna do that one. That's the next video I'm gonna do. was in the NBA's doghouse. Stern and Adam Silver don't want him to touch. So he'll never get to come back in the NBA again. So he got the Stephon Marbury treatment. Fans are unruly. And black players know it all too well. So I'm neither shocked nor surprised. They have no rules, but they also do have rules. They know what to say and what not to say. Mhm. Believe me, if that was if that's let me think. If that's Jason Tatum, he doesn't get hit like that. Depends on who you are. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I saw something like that too. It's different in different places, but common sense is common sense. Well, I already know about that. They taunt you. They talk about your mama. They talk about everybody, and they do it like in a unison song too. It's crazy. Hmm. About that too. Hmm. It depends on where you are in the world, and again, it's a different hit. So, but they know that they can mess with someone like him, and I don't care what people say about languages and stuff. They know who they messing with. Believe me, when they play basketball games internationally and they're superstars, they don't have that kind of problem because they know who they messing with. But if you're in a country with a different language, you gotta pick it up. Spring it on them. Because if you don't, you gonna get got. Mm-hmm. Okay. It has its pros and its cons. Has its pros and its cons. There's things that has some good qualities about it, and then it has some qualities that makes you think about the states. It all depends on how you look at it. It's all a lesson. It's all history. You there's some things that are forward. There's some things that are backwards. The idea of racism is different because it's more coverted, whereas in America it's more open. But it's the same thing. They just used to hide behind saying class. You know, when you deal with certain situations, you feel like, oh boy, you can almost feel, because where I grew up in the states, I saw a lot of stuff that's similar. So there's similarities, there's differences. So it's educational. But I always tell you at the end of the day, is life is what you make it. If you're willing to learn, you can. You know, my ancestry in my previous life in some places around, so I got some stuff to go do some digging. I did. I shot some videos around some territory. It's some great views too. Now, if you're a walker, the nature hits. And I'll be doing that again when the weather gets a little bit warmer. It rain today is a little bit. When it gets a little bit warmer, I got some out late night videos I want to do again, like I did last summer. There was definitely a lot of stuff to take in. Good observation and a good eye. Yeah, because the one thing about it is the lakes and the vibe feel differently than they do in the states. That's a fact. You learn that. I think I would tell anybody to get out your comfort zone and live in a different place and then see how you feel. Because if you go somewhere completely different in different orbit, you appreciate something or it'll hit you in a different way. You know, because living in a different place is, you know, yeah, it's incredible as far as that go. And in the countryside, it's like really like that. It's different. Depends on where you are. You know, it's different. You know, and I've lived in different parts of the states. I've lived in all four corners of the state, so it does still hit differently. There's parts of here that make me think of the East Coast, parts that make me think of the South, a little bit of on the West Coast, and a smidgen of the middle. It's a combo. It's always something to learn. There are things that, you know, like I said, they hit different though. Mm. Oh yeah, Philippines. I have a cat I used to work with. He got married. He moved there. Oh yeah, it is. However, you pay into NHS, which is for your health care. That's where the exchange is done. That's what they got going for them. So you don't have to pay for your health care. I mean, you pay a deductible up front, but the thing is, if anything happens, once you're in the system, you get your medical. They come and get you, and they don't throw you out like they do in America. And you don't have to pay for 50, 80 years unless you get private care. They have some expense. They have some advantages like that. All depends on what you make. Spain is not inexpensive too. That's good because they have this thing called NHS. That's what I'm telling you about. Before you come, you pay a certain amount into it. But the thing is once you pay into it, you get that's it. You pay once you're in the system, you're taken care of. So if you get hurt or something, you ain't got to pay that. It ain't like the healthcare in America. Healthcare in America, thanks to Obamacare, because that before that it was just at your own risk. What's happening? How you doing? Thanks for coming through. Okay. Glad to have you on through. Come on through. But yeah. And the food is different. Well, they don't have the food. You got to put some flavor to it. No one. So let me tell you about Canada. They have all them holidays, have all that stuff, right? But they still came to America to get their medicine. They come to the states to get everything. It's kind of like a safe haven, but you still gotta kind of like they still come get their groceries. It's cheaper. Canada is a Canada is like an expensive Airbnb. That's how I would describe it. And it's got a lot going for it, but it's got a lot you got to put into it. And it's kind of got its own mismatch. I mean, it's a bit different, but yeah, I did a video about her. Where do I start about Ananda? Mm, MTV, VJ, Teen Summit. Mm, and she had her own platform. She was doing a lot of different things. Um, she was quite remarkable. She spoke her mind on different things. You know, she wasn't your typical VJ who was just strictly all in the music and just got the head not looking. She was aware. So I had good things to. I had good memories and good things to say about Ananda. I did a video. I don't know if it came out yet. It should be out. But I had a lot of respect for her. Mhm. It's necessary for growth, development. Success is different, means different things to different people. I think we talk about this here every day with you. Success is different for different people. Sometimes people's success is based on how well others do. You know, if people have children, they want their others and their grandchildren to be more prosperous than they were. For some people, their neighbors, their friends, about who, because growth is basically your maturation. Development is your habits. That's how I would describe that. Those three things have whole different connotations. So your growth is your maturation. Your development is, you know, how you compartmentalize things. And the success is either you're going to humble or you're going to be greedy. So that's how I answer that question. But yeah, I did like Ananda. Um, she was cool. Maxwell did a tribute to her on his Facebook. And she was pretty real. She was cool. Anyway, see what we got going on. Anybody want to talk about Brian Wilson? I want to talk about and the Post just doing okay. I see more fanfare online, so it's okay. Okay, where everybody go? I get quiet all of a sudden. We got deep in here. Okay, these drops. gonna give people a few minutes because I don't see nobody coming through. So if I don't see nobody coming through, I'm gonna call it a day because I don't want to be here talking to myself. Hopefully, people come through. Let me do something real quick. Okay. Okay. I'm hoping people come through. I'm gonna give you a few more minutes before I call it a day because everybody done went ghost on me. Yeah, I'm listening. I was just getting ready to wonder where everybody went. I'm all ears. PG-13, PGB, PBS, PBS. I would always say PBS. Nickelodeon is kind of like that's where Nick Cannon came from. PBS always watching Sesame Street, Electric Company, Mr. Rogers. Nickelodeon was entertaining with Blues Clues. It was entertaining, but say PBS. Yeah, I'm say PBS. Okay, I might be back on tomorrow. Definitely Saturday. Probably not Sunday. So that's the schedule. Mm-hmm. Just letting you know, giving you a heads up. Got a nice long day planned out Sunday. Maybe tomorrow too. I'll be free Saturday. I guess I say Ghost Rider if I gotta think like that. Those not the kind of shows I really was watching a lot, but I guess I will say. You said Blues Clues or Recess have been better, but I'll guess Ghost Rider. I'd probably say Ghost Rider. Okay. Again, I don't know where everybody went. I'm kind of quiet, so. I think I answered that question. Don't see anything else that's in the. I don't eat neither, so I'm a vegetarian vegan. In case you forgot. Well, when I ate back then, I would have probably have gone with barbecue back in the day. I did like wild wings back once upon, but again, that's my past life, long time ago. Vegetarian vegan, so I don't eat meat. Just so we get that clear. So when because I don't even know what the taste like is like in my mind. That's how long ago it's been. So things change. Okay. I'll try to come back on tomorrow. It was good talking to everybody. Appreciate when it came through. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time.